In this Baldur's Gate 3 Fighter Class Guide, I'm going to be covering the Fighter class, including all 3 subclasses, and providing you some useful information. I'll be doing more build guides for Baldur's Gate 3 and the Fighter, but for now, let's just look at how a fighter functions and its basics. Fighters are the backbone of your front line and are some of the most capable warriors in BG3. Not only are they proficient with all forms of armor, but also all forms of weapons and shields, and they can heal themselves once per short rest with their second wind class feature. Excelling in all forms of martial combat, fighters have the potential to attack more than any other class in the game on a single turn. This is due to their extra attacks gained at both levels 5 and 11, as well as Action Surge. Action Surge allows them to take a second action on a given turn once per short rest, or once per combat essentially. This action can then be used to trigger their extra attacks all over again, granting them the potential of a total of 6 attacks in one turn at level 11, if they've used this class feature. In this section, we'll take a look at how to set up your fighter during character creation for best results. We'll begin with abilities first, since this is arguably the most important part aside from choosing your subclass. Your primary ability as a fighter is Strength or Dexterity, depending on how you want to play your fighter. Strength if you want to use heavy armor or a two-handed weapon, or maybe even a one-handed shield. You might go Dexterity if you prefer two-weapon fighting, though you could still do this as a strength fighter as well, or if you prefer medium or light armor and like ranged combat with a bow or crossbow. Additionally, Eldritch Knights may want to take some intelligence to increase their likelihood of them landing hostile spells and cantrips, so that is something to consider as well. Strength increases your melee hit chance, melee damage, increases carry weight and chance to shove someone successfully, as well as increases jump distance and improves athletics checks and strength saving throws. Dexterity increases your hit chance with finesse melee weapons and ranged weapons, damaging rolls with these weapon types, boosts armor class if not wearing heavy armor, increases initiative, and improves sleight of hand, acrobatics, and stealth checks, as well as improves dexterity saving throws. Intelligence is useful to Eldritch Knights who want their hostile spells and cantrips to connect more regularly. It also boosts intelligence skill checks and intelligence saving throws, but does not increase the number of prepared spells Eldritch Knights have, since they don't need to prepare their spells like wizards do. Constitution is there to help keep you alive via HP, since fighters typically soak up a lot of damage when on the front lines. Your stat spread for your fighter will vary depending on which route you want to go, but you'll likely want 16 Strength or 16 Dexterity and at least 14 Constitution. You can see the following setups on the screen for a fighter to help you better set up for the type you want to play. Note I've changed this from the recommendations as it's more optimized for your character during the early goings of the game. Also note that you can play a Dexterity-focused Eldritch Knight if you wish instead of Strength, and that if you plan to only use buffs or just like Magic Missile on your Eldritch Knight, then you really don't need Intelligence. When it comes to what race to select, fighters have all proficiencies in weapons and armor and shields, so choosing a race will come down to what else they can bring to the table since those are not needed. For instance, Drow have superior Dark Vision, Fey Ancestry, and Perception proficiency, which are all decent pickups for the fighter. Goldorf is also not a bad choice for Dark Vision, Dwarven Resilience, and Dwarven Toughness, though they have lower movement speed, which isn't ideal for fighters. Half-Orc is also a good choice, especially for melee-focused fighters since they have Dark Vision, Relentless Endurance, Savage Attacks, and Menacing. For skills, what you select will not have a huge impact in the game. Fighters typically don't handle the dialogue of their group, though they can use Intimidation quite well compared to some classes. Athletics is good to pick up for shoving and helping to resist being shoved, but beyond that, the choice of what skills you want is really up to you. Next, let's take a look at general fighter character progression. At level 1, fighters gain Second Wind, allowing them to heal themselves for 1d10 plus their fighter level of HP as a bonus action once per short rest. This is a great way to help keep their HP up during fights and still attack on the same turn. Also at this level, all fighters can choose one of 6 fighting styles present in BG3. Fighters are the only class that can choose from all 6, while other classes can choose from a reduced pool of fighting styles. At level 2, all fighters gain Action Surge, allowing them to take a second action on their turn once every short rest. And as I mentioned before, this allows them to attack again, which will re-trigger extra attack once they've acquired it, allowing them to potentially attack 4 times at level 5 and 6 times at level 11 on a single turn. This is an extremely powerful class feature. At level 3, fighters choose a subclass and gain subclass features based on the subclass chosen. We'll go into what these are more in the subclasses section of this guide. At level 4, fighters will gain their first feat. Ability improvement is good here for more strength or dexterity, but there are a ton of other feats fighters can benefit from. Dual Wielder is great if you want to use 2 rapiers and gain +1 armor class. Lucky is great for picking up some uses of advantage and controlling outcomes. And Sharpshooter is great for boosting range damage if you like playing your fighter primarily from ranged. Great Weapon Fighter is good in general and even better if you're using a 2-handed weapon. Sentinel is not a bad pickup if you want to stop enemies from moving if you hit them with an attack of opportunity. And Polearm Master is great if you intend to use one of these weapon types. At level 5, all fighters gain extra attack, allowing them to attack again on their turn, but only if they've used their action to make an attack. If you use Action Surge, this will allow you to attack once again as an action, re-triggering this effect. At level 6, fighters gain an extra feat that no other class gets besides rogues, though rogues get this at level 10 instead of level 6. And once again, there are many good choices here as I mentioned before. And because fighters can reach 20 in their main ability with ability improvement and still have 2 feats left over, they have a lot of freedom to choose. At level 7, all fighters gain a subclass feature based on the subclass they chose at level 3. We'll cover these more in the subclasses section. At level 8, all fighters gain another feat and they can choose from any I mentioned before, though investing some in strength or dexterity would be wise if you have not done so already, depending on what your main stat is. At level 9, fighters gain Indomitable, allowing them to roll again once if they failed a saving throw. This drastically improves their chances of passing saving throws and can help protect them against spells and other negative effects. At level 10, all fighters gain their final subclass feature, which again I will be covering in our subclasses section. At level 11, fighters gain improved extra attack, which allows them to make 2 additional attacks if they use their action to make an attack. They are the only class in BG3 that can do this, as most other martial classes only gain a single extra attack. And as I mentioned before, if they use Action Surge, then they can make 2 additional attacks a second time for a total of 6 attacks in one turn. At level 12, all fighters gain their final feat, and they can choose from any I mentioned before, though they should ideally max out their main stat if they haven't already. Fighter equipment will vary greatly from fighter to fighter since they can go many different directions. However, strength fighters will typically wear heavy armor to allow them to invest heavily into strength and constitution without sacrificing armor class. They can still use medium if they wish and may do so if they have 14 or so dexterity. Dexterity-based fighters, on the other hand, will likely use medium or light armor to take advantage of their higher dexterity, though they have the option to use heavy armor if they need it. Weapon-wise, strength fighters will either use a 2-handed weapon, go one-handed in a shield, or may even dual-wield 2 weapons if they want. Remember that finesse weapons use strength or dexterity, whichever is higher. They will also likely throw weapons to deal damage at range instead of using a bow or crossbow, particularly if they have lower dexterity. While dexterity fighters will use a one-handed finesse weapon and shield, or typically dual-wield finesse weapons in melee combat, while using a bow or crossbow at range. Next, let's take a look at subclasses. Fighters in BG3 can play completely differently based on their equipment and fighting style alone, but their subclasses also dictate how they behave in combat. For instance, Battle Masters have many different actions they can use that can add effects to their attacks, and they have a lot of freedom to choose the ones they like. Champions, on the other hand, have a higher critical hit chance, allowing them to land criticals more often. They also gain a second fighting style, allowing them to further specialize in combat. And Eldritch Knights can cast spells both defensive and offensively, allowing them to augment their attacks with magic that fighters would not otherwise gain. All of these things together make fighters a very flexible class, and it's unlikely that any 2 fighters will be exactly the same. All fighters gain their first subclass feature at level 3 when they select their subclass, and then once again at level 7, and finally one more time at level 10. These features are not the only thing that separates these subclasses, however, since Eldritch Knights also gain spellcasting while Battle Masters and Champions do not. Let's take a look at Battle Master first. At level 3, Battle Masters gain 4 superiority dice that can be spent on maneuvers they've selected. They will spend 1 superiority die per maneuver used, and these dice replenish every short rest. At level 3, Battle Masters will also get to select 3 maneuvers from a list, each with their own benefits. They will use their superiority dice to use these, and this dice also adds 1d8 to damage in many cases, making these attacks even stronger than default attacks from a damage perspective. At level 7, they'll gain 1 more superiority die they can use between short rests, giving them a total of 5 dice, which is the highest number of dice they will obtain. And also at level 7, Battle Masters will gain 2 more maneuvers from the list that they can spend their superiority dice on. And finally, at level 10, Battle Masters will gain 2 more maneuvers from the list, and their superiority dice will increase from d8 to d10, adding more damage to maneuvers that use them. Next, let's take a look at Champion. At level 3, champions will gain improved critical hit, which allows them to critically hit when rolling a 19 or 20 instead of just 20 on their attack roll. This effectively doubles their crit chance, which is roughly a 5% increase up to 10%. Note that this effect can stack with other effects that reduce the number needed on the die when making an attack roll to critically hit, which can add up when set up properly. At level 7, champions can jump 3 meters further than other fighters and can add half their proficiency bonus to any strength, dexterity, or constitution checks they make that they aren't proficient with. And at level 10, champions gain a second fighting style, making them the only fighter that has access to 2 different ones without multiclassing. And lastly, we come to Eldritch Knight. At level 3, Eldritch Knights gain the capability to cast spells in and outside of combat. This sets them apart from the other subclasses since neither of them can do this. They use intelligence for their spellcasting ability modifier just like wizards and arcane tricksters. And also at level 3, Eldritch Knights also gain Weapon Bond, preventing their weapon from being knocked out of their hand by disarming attacks, and this feature also allows them to throw their weapon and have it return to them automatically, which is great if you like to throw your weapon. At level 7, Eldritch Knights gain War Magic, which allows them to cast a cantrip with their action and then attack with their weapon as a bonus action in the same turn. This can be useful, but remember that Eldritch Knights also have extra attack, and they cannot attack twice if they cast a cantrip with their action. And finally, at level 10, Eldritch Knights inflict disadvantage on saving throws made to their next spell cast before the end of their next turn against enemies they hit with a weapon attack. This allows them to attack one turn and then cast spells more effectively on the next. In this section of our Baldur's Gate 3 Fighter Class Guide, we'll take a look at multiclassing a fighter and what other classes you might multiclass with. Keep in mind this is not a complete list, but rather helpful suggestions that make good pairings. Fighters are heavily front-loaded, meaning they gain a fighting style at level 1, action surge at level 2, and they gain a lot from their subclass features at level 3. This means the first most likely place you would multiclass a fighter would be after this point at level 3. From this point onward, it's a lot less cut and dry about when you should multiclass, since it really depends on what you need out of your fighter and what subclass you chose. Fighters gain extra attack at level 5, so if you made it to level 3, there is definitely a case for making it to level 5. And if you made it to level 5, level 6 gives you another feat, so there is also a case to be made there as well. From this point onward, however, the further you go in fighter, the less likely you are to multiclass. When multiclassing Battlemaster, I like 9 levels of Battlemaster and 3 of Thief if you plan to dual wield. This allows you to attack with your main and offhands 2 times each per turn, gives you the option to dash or disengage as a bonus action, and also provides you some sneak attack damage. When multiclassing a champion, I like 3 levels of champion and 9 levels of barbarian. This is because you gain access to rage, further boosting your melee damage and providing damage resistance, while only having to sacrifice heavy armor to use rage. You also gain reckless attack, allowing you to attack with advantage every turn, which pairs nicely with the champion's chance to critically hit. Additionally, at level 9, barbarians gain brutal critical, allowing them to roll an additional damage die when they crit, making this even more deadly. When multiclassing Eldritch Knight, I like 10 levels of Eldritch Knight and 2 of Wizard in order to gain access to level 3 spell slots, and to be able to learn spells from scrolls, as well as pick up a Wizard subclass feature like Arcane Ward. This also allows the Eldritch Knight to pick up all subclass features, making it especially potent. Well, that wraps up our fighter class guide, and I hope you were able to learn something about fighters in this video. They are an extremely dynamic class that I feel like will be played much differently from person to person, even if they chose the same subclass. And as always, if you have further tips about the fighter that I forgot to mention, please leave them in the comments, and if you have questions, ask them there as well, and I will try and answer them as soon as I can.